Dave, the time has come. The XXL Freshman 2020 edition predictions. Now, just a, I don't think it needs to be said, but just to remind the people how credible of a source you are. You've gone 10 for 10, I believe, the last couple of years, or is it 9 for 10 one year?
I went 9 for 9, I think 2 years ago. Okay. And I think I got like 8 of 10 last year, if I want to say.
Pretty
good.
Doing
a while. Yeah. To me, it's just really easy, to be honest. I always laugh when people throw out these like really ridiculous comparisons. Like, you just pay attention. You just watch that tape, like I do.
Watch those numbers, son.
You can you can predict this shit. But I always enjoy. It's kind of like rap fantasy sports to me. I always have fun trying to predict it. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't give a shit about XXL. What do they care? And I was like, yeah, sure. You don't have to care what they think at all. I just have fun thinking about the cover and I guess like the history of the proverbial freshman class year to year. So I've always enjoyed it.
Now, how did you feel about last year's class overall?
Last year's I liked quite a bit. I would say, I think I say this every year. There are times when the XXL freshman, comes out, they make the decisions late winter. We start hearing about it early spring. We have to cover May, June-ish, right? Inevitably, with that kind of regular calendar, there's going to be rap careers that go from missing the cut one year to far exceeding the qualifications the following year, right? I think of Cardi B, recent example of that. Last year, Juice WRLD, Lil Baby, two huge stars, one gone far too soon. They didn't make it, and I think if they were on the list, it would have been an amazing list. But, in their place, we had people like YK Osiris and Comethazine, artists I didn't pick and I got wrong when I was doing the predictions because I didn't think they were worthy picks. But, I think last year's cover, you have the coronation of the huge female-led rap wave that we have going on right now with Megan Thee Stallion, Tierra Whack, Rico Nasty, three, I think, really talented, yet all different from each other voices, right? As well as YBN Corday,
Roddy Ricch.
Yeah, like stars in the making / stars right now. It was a really good group. And then, the 10th spot, which is like the fan voted on thing, was Blueface, who, whether you like him for talent, otherwise, Blueface certainly become a popular rapper. So I thought Blueface was a good pick. So, I think overall it was a good one. Even Lil Mosey, someone who got absolutely clowned for his really bad performances in the freestyles once he was selected. He's got a huge hit right now, Blueberry Faygo, that has become a TikTok smash and all that stuff. So I think overall it was a really strong year.
So last year was a strong year. I think anyone that looks at those names will say, are we going to be saying the same thing a year from now about this class? Do you feel like this class has the potential to reach the strength of last year's?
So I'd say I think it's a strong year. I mean, there's a lot of contenders, a lot of tough cuts. But I also kind of feel that way almost every year because there's just so much young talent in hip hop, and it's like the only genre you even do something like this in terms of making it interesting freshman list year to year. Like, you can't really do that anywhere else anymore, right? Like, no. I don't know. Maybe 6 years ago you could have done this for like EDM, I guess, like new DJs and stuff. Yeah. But like, I don't know where you can do this for anything else, right? You certainly can't do it for rock. And like other scenes like take too while to bubble up. Like hip hop, you can become a star immediately. Even faster now. I think the rise of TikTok has made this even faster than it already was, But I think there's still a lot of really good selections this year, and even if we don't get the overall mainstream star power that I think we already have last year, from last year, I think it's still a strong one. Last year again, like Roddy Ricch was picked, Megan Thee Stallion was picked. They only continued to get bigger after that, right? Roddy, the box, still freaking number one somehow. Don't know who's still listening to the box, but evidently a lot of people are, So I don't know if we're going to get quite to that level, but I think, and Corday, who's, being tabbed and coordinated every chance we get. But there's still a lot of good picks. So I like this year. I think in terms of like bad years, I think was it 2015? There were some weak ones. in the middle of the last decade. So I don't think we have one of those this year.
So why don't we start off with the people that seem like absolute locks? Just I'll throw out the little bit of knowledge I have and see what I can do here. So just kind of looking through, we talked recently about Jack Harlow, one of the few names on here that I am aware of, I'm familiar with. Feels like he's probably going to get on there, right?
Yes, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Jack
Yeah.
Harlow, he's the only one. I think he probably would be the first XXL choice from Kentucky, which I guess is cool. He also is a white rapper. They don't make the list often, so I think if there's a worthy pick, it almost stands out for that. But yeah, what's poppin'? That's what 100 million streams in Spotify, or just about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's up to like 13 million monthly listeners as a result of basically one song that became a TikTok meme, among other things. So, but even if that's really the only touchstone people have, a lot of times you only need one big hit to make this kind of list.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think he's a good one, because if that one hit is based off bars and technical ability, I think that leads to faith in strong output in the future. So I think Jack Harlow is a really good pick.
So the next one that seems like a lock to me would be Lil Tecca. Have you seen these Spotify numbers, dude? Ransom, almost up to 600 million streams on Spotify. Not really sure how you could be on this list, have 600 million streams and not get picked. So he seems like a lock, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like the Little Tecca like wave was just starting when the cover was coming out last year. So it was one of those, everyone's like, all right, next year it'll probably be time. And then Ransom gets all the way to number 4 in the country. All these monster numbers, as you said. It sounds like he's still throwing his hat in the ring for this year. He's not going to bow out and become too big for it, which is cool, because I think he's definitely is like the anchor of this cover when you have that kind of status and success already. And he's from New York, but he's very much representing that newer melodic wave that you get out of New York, of course, from people like A Boogie. So yeah, Lil Tecca is also only 17, and he's already had a monster hit like this. So, and his debut album, We Love You Tecca, had other successful songs like Shots. So I don't think he's a one-hit wonder by any means. And yeah, I mean, Ransom was actually my second most streamed song on Spotify last year. Funny enough, it's just a catchy song that you just can run back all the time. So yeah, he's the face of the cover. I'd say he's the anchor this year.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, makes sense. When you're doing those numbers, you got to be up there. So Lil TJ also doing some monster numbers here on Spotify. Just looking here, he has multiple songs with more than 100 million, I'm sorry, plays. FN, Pop Out, which he's featured on, Hold On. I mean, he does some numbers. He's probably up there too, right?
Yeah, he was one of the picks. I made him as a pick last year, and obviously got that wrong. And he had a lot of songs I liked from last year, like Brothers and Resume. Yet now we have even more output. We have that full length project, Pop Out with Polo G. It was a massive hit. It's actually his biggest hit to date, even though it's a feature. And Lil TJ, I think he's literally from the Bronx, just like A Boogie, and he sounds a lot like A Boogie. You could call him B Boogie or C Boogie if you want. Also only 19. So yeah, Lil TJ, he was another one that people were thinking last year. It was just miss. I was trying to squeeze him on last year, didn't happen. But I think he's an obvious one for me. And then he's obviously connected with Polo G, with Pop Out. Pop Out's massive. That's like 320 million streams. That's really big. But Polo G actually really surprised me. I wish we reviewed his album last year, Die a Legend, because I was expecting more of the sound of Lil TJ, more of the sound of Pop Out. But the rest of that album is much more of that, I don't know, that like Meek Mill, like street survival stuff. And in Polo G's case, he's from Chicago, but he's from like the South Side where it's really hard. And he got a lot of raves for that album in terms of the lyricism. So he's actually, I think, kind of an underrated pick where people know Pop Out, which is just a fun banger, yet there's actually a lot more lyrical dexterity under the hood. Almost kind of, I think he's just a lot like Meek Mill. So he's definitely one I would invest in long term because I think, Die Legend is the strongest full length project any of the people we're going to pick today has released so far. And yeah, I think that actually says a lot. And he's only 21 still.
You're buying all the Polo G stock,
I
it
am.
sounds like. All right, so who else feels like a lock to you? Anybody?
Yeah, I'd say there's one more lock, and that would be NLE Choppa, who, like Lil Tecca, is only 17 years old. Another one who was starting to make that buzz last year. People were already throwing his name out. Shot of Flow was really big. That's what put him on the map. Then he releases the remix with Blueface, probably Blueface's best feature ever, where Blueface actually adopts the flow of someone else, Choppa's, and it's great. I think it's a better version of the song. And Blueface actually performs that when he does his own sets because it's such a big hit. And he also released Camelot, which is just a energetic banger. And, Choppa's from Memphis. We're getting a lot of Memphis these days. We'll talk about someone else from Memphis later. And he just kind of has that like shot out of a cannon rapping energy that I think is really appealing to people. And he hasn't demonstrated much lyricism, but since we kind of moved past the quote like SoundCloud wave, hearing someone who's going to spit a lot of bars at you really fast with like just shit ton of energy, like NLE Choppa does, I think it's just really appealing. You can see that in his numbers he's doing. And he's also starting to like branch out and do more of that singy, more melodic stuff. I don't like that nearly as much as the just straight bars stuff for him at this point. But I think, all this success at only 17, I think he's a pretty easy one to go with. So I think those 5 would be our locks: Lil Tecca, NLE Choppa, Polo G, Lil TJ, and Jack Harlow. And I have some other people that I think are pretty close, but I think those 5. And last year, last year we had more locks. Now Rod Wave is probably the next one, but I was actually surprised because Rod Wave does not do overall numbers. He's only at like 5 million listeners. That's still a lot. Monthly listeners to Spotify, it's still a lot. But like Hard on Ice, I think is really like the one touchstone anyone has. We'll see how this brand new Pray for Love album does for him. But I think he's actually just interesting to me from like a demo perspective on the list because he's from Florida, but he's not like what we've associated with Florida recently with like Lil Pump, XXXTentacion, Denzel Curry, etc. He's different than a lot of the Florida stars of late. So, NBA Youngboy didn't make this list a few years back because he had a lot of legal issues at the time. But Rod Wave's kind of a similar sentiment, and that sound ultimately is really popular right now. And it's a sound that no one else is really doing on this list. So I think it's a good pick in that regard. I actually think when we're done with this, we'll actually have a lot of variety, which I think, when you make this list in terms of like projecting the future of hip hop, I think representing different areas of the country as well as different sounds within the genre. Obviously, there's so much, it's such a vast sound right now, so having Rod Wave, I think he would kind of stand out because there's no one else really to pick that's doing what he does. Like, yes, Lil TJ and Lil Tecca do more melodic stuff, but it's not like that, like, from the street, from the heart stuff that Rod Wave's tempting. So I think he's a good pick.
So I want to come to probably my favorite artist out of this crew this year, SATA Baby. Is he on the outside looking in? Is he a safe pick? How are you feeling about his chances?
Yeah, so I think SATA Baby is unfortunately not a safe pick at all. If this was a meritocracy, he's a lock, but he's a lot of things going against him. I think he's the least listened to of anyone really in contention. He's also one of the older artists. He's already 27, which makes me feel old saying that, but that's the truth. But I mean, we just talked about his last project, Scuba Sada 2. He's released a lot of music in a short amount of time. He'd be representing Detroit. And actually, there's another Detroit contender we'll get to. But, Block's Party, I love that track in general. The energy he gives you combined with actual, like, really, like, in-your-face wild lyricism is also very unique to anyone you're getting here. In terms of projecting stardom, he's already, like, escaped a rough label situation and come out of it better. And whether he makes this or not, SATA Baby's going to be around a long time. I think that's pretty safe. He's probably never going to be a star, though. So I think it's an inspired choice, and a choice I hope they would make. A lot of times they've shied away from that, though. He's not going to have a major label pushing to get him on this list. So that sucks. But I would absolutely pick him, but I'm not super confident with it.
Okay. So who else you got on your list then? Who's making it?
So there's I guess another sort of safe one. I'm expecting him to make the list is Don Tolliver. I'm not super enthusiastic about this one. I just think it's going to happen. Don Tolliver just released his last album, Heaven or Hell, like a few weeks ago. He signed to Cactus Jack. He's got that Travis Scott co-sign. He was on the Jack Boys EP. He's from Houston, like Travis. He sounds a lot like Travis. That like cloud rap, wavy shit, For me, it doesn't really stand out a whole lot, personally. Yet he's having a lot of success. No Idea is a huge hit. Cardigan's really good. What to Do off Jack Boys, that was really big too. He's become really big, I think, really fast. Basically, Travis did what I think big artists should do. They find someone they like and they give them a lot of shine. And it really seemed to have worked for Don because he did not make a lot of noise at all with his first two mixtapes. And that's great. Yeah, obviously happy for him, but not an artist I'm super enthusiastic about. But he's streaming just as much as Choppa and Tekka and TJ and Jack Harlow and Polo G. He's doing just as much numbers month to month right now as those guys. So I think he's probably a safe bet because he also has the push. So Don Tolliver, he's all right.
So Don Tolliver's on the list. Danny Lee, Fivio, Foreign, any of these names?
So Fivio, Foreign. All right. So Pop Smoke, RIP. If Pop Smoke was still with us, I think he's the face of this cover. It's pretty obvious. Pop Smoke is not here. Now, Pop Smoke was the face of Brooklyn Drill. Brooklyn Drill is a lot different than the singy shit we're getting from Tekka and Lil TJ in other parts of New York City, right? That Brooklyn Drill scene is super vibrant. There's a great Pitchfork piece I recommend you can read to really understand that. It would be malpractice for XXL not to pick a Brooklyn Drill artist, even in the wake of Pop Smoke's passing. Now, that leaves you have to pick. I think there's four guys you can pick. Fivio, Foreign, Chef G, 22Gs, and Smooth L. I personally like 22Gs the most. I think he sounds awesome. Listen to Spin the Block, and you'll get the idea real fast. Fivio, Foreign, though, is the one who is the most popular. And by most that's still relative. He's at like 2 million monthly listeners. It's not a big number. The other guys, though, they don't really seem to have a big national presence. It's really just like they're like New York stars right now. And in a sense, you can pick any of them, and they're really inspired choices because overall they're not famous. But I think they would just go with Fivio because he has the biggest hit of all of them with Big Drip. And he seems to be branching out the most. He's collaborating with other major label artists. So I just want them to pick one of these guys. I think it'll be Fivio. I would pick 22Gs. But yeah, if they don't pick a Brooklyn Drill artist, that's super lame because that just means you need to have your finger on the pulse of new hip hop when you make this list. And Brooklyn Drill has been the most vibrant of the new waves. So you got to pick someone. So I'll go with Fivio.
So Fivio is making Dave's list. Not certain that it'll be XXL, no, but
not safe.
Sounds like you feel like it would be malpractice, so put it on the list. Who else is making it? Danny Lee?
So you met Danny Lay. You mentioned her. So last year, really big for women, right? Tierra Whack, Rico Nasty, Megan Thee Stallion, and other people that you could have picked. The problem is, I think right now, women are still dominating. Think of Doja Cat. I was pegging Doja Cat for this list a few months ago. She was not listed on the website in terms of people you can vote for the 10 spot. So it sounds like Doja isn't interested in making a list, and she became really big, in between covers. So that is what it is. So in that leaves you with there's a lot of female MCs that have not made this list, of course. Yeah, I don't know if any of them have really bubbled up to the top, or at least even to the level we've mentioned with other guys we just said. There's people like Cuban Doll and Daniel Lay. That's really the only ones I would really consider, And I think Daniel Lay is interesting because her sound's a little different. You know, it's not like I think, easy to grasp, like break. I'm gonna step on your face. Fuck you, dudes. Attitude you get from like City Girls and Megan these days, you know, and Cardi. She's a little different. I think she's a little like little more vibey, and part of that's because she's a really good dancer. So a lot of her songs are based on like the choreography she's doing in her videos and stuff. Like, I really like Little Baby, and like she just did like the Levi High song with the baby, and she's trying, you know, with a challenge on TikTok, of course, in which case you're like pulling pants up. That's like the challenge. It's pretty erotic, honestly. But yeah, I think if you're picking a female MC, I would pick Danny Lay. Don't think she's safe at all, though. She's not super popular, but we might not get a woman on the list this year, and I think that would piss people off.
Yeah,
I think, you know, especially if like there's no woman, but you have like Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow, as a white rapper, inherently will get some hate. So that's tough. But, you know, I think this was actually fun about this list. There's a lot of good picks, yet there's only like really like 5 or 6 guys I'd feel pretty confident in making it. So that's kind of fun, and it'll be assumingly a little more interesting. So Danny Lay, I think, would make my list. She would be my 10th pick of everyone we've said so far. But there's a lot of other contenders I would throw out there. Duke Deuce was someone I was considering. He's out of Memphis. That Crunk Ain't Dead track is really great. That's an awesome banger. They already got a remix with Lil Jon and Juicy J. And Duke Deuce, we didn't review his album that just dropped, Memphis Massacre 2. It was a busy week for us. I want to talk about that one, though. Like, his energy and like trying to like bring back crunk, like that's unique. That's different. And he also demonstrated a lot of like introspection on a song like Bad News, which is on our playlist. So between that and the ability to make a banger like Crunk Ain't Dead, I think Duke Deuce is a strong pick. Overall, he's not a super popular artist right now, so tough to be too confident in him getting picked, but I would consider him. And then after that, the other wave I guess we have right now is like scam rap, and TJX6 or Guap Dad 4000 are the faces of that. I would go with TJX6. He's only 18, from Detroit. Dark Web, one of my favorite songs from last year. The ability to elevate talking about committing crimes in hip hop by talking about downloading VPNs and wire fraud is a very of the moment subject matter, and I think reflexive of our times. So I would consider one of the scammers as well. So
all right.
I think those are the top contenders. There's other people you know that you'll see people throw out there, like Lil Keed, Callboy, 24K Golden. I don't think he's ready yet. I like him though. 10K Cash has a famous dance, but I wouldn't, you know, that's about it. Yeah, I mean, DaBaby's boy, Stunna for Vegas. I think he's pretty bad, but he was on the voting list as well. And you can go on the vote for the 10 spot list on XXL, and it's like, what, 50 names? It's a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people.
So there's lots of people, but I think this, you know, these 13 people we're really focused on are probably the main ones. So if a lot of people say no, I'm good, or the coronavirus impacts the ability to find a way to shoot this cover for the magazine, or to put it off, you know, who knows what happens. But I think these are the main people that you should focus on.
Coronavirus, just getting real. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering if the cover this year is going to just have to be patched together, unless they want to delay it, or if that will impact who they pick and why. That would feel a little cheap, you know, if they were like, oh, because we can't travel right now, we're just going to pick local people, make it easier, or people are close by. But hopefully they stick with the talent, figure the cover out. I mean, how many times do they Photoshop shit anyway? You know, so
yeah. So it's like obviously a huge production, right? And like they have all the pitch videos up on YouTube, which obviously were in the can, ready to go. But they always want to bring people in to do the ciphers where they're all together. You know, it's one big day. That's all it is. They do everything in one day. But yeah, if you have to wait, it's going to leak. It's parts of this list has leaked several times in the past, and I don't think they want that because it just takes the wind out of their sails. You know, and I imagine the health of the magazine largely revolves around the big revenue boost they get from running this every year. So yeah, it's weird. You know, it's a tough situation. I wonder what's going to happen. I think the past few years they've released it for the June cover, but I assume that means they do everything in at least early May, if not sooner. So and they're in New York City. So I don't know. It's gonna be some hoops. So I wonder what's gonna happen. The fact that they kick this off though, normal timing suggests they have a plan. So we'll see. But I'm excited about a lot of people we talked about. So we'll see what happens.
We will see indeed. If you're watching our breakout video on YouTube, drop your picks and let us know if Dave's picks and my
Do it.
3 picks are right or wrong. Tell us.